Welcome to this month's Fire Chief's video message. This month I have Battalion Chief Dave Polikoff with me. Thank you, Dave, for coming.
Thank you for having me.
So, you asked to join me after San Villani. So, what prompted you to be here, and what type of questions do you have today?
Well, I wanted to give out some information to you that I've found from some of the employees out in the field when I do my rounds between the 1st and the 4th Battalion. And most of the things that I hear center around truck company operations as well as the upcoming revision of the safe structural firefighting policy.
Okay. One of the things when we talked about this a little bit ago was in the past, we had a truck company class. Some of us will remember, Captain Maltrip and Dave's class and how that was centered around all about truck company skills and truck company evolutions. It obviously seems, when you look at it, that we've changed from that truck company class to that aerial operators class. And it's an interesting perspective as to what caused that change. I analogize truck company operations to what we now know as rescue technician, the old practical rescue class. Mm-hmm. That class teaches the skills of vehicular extrication, vehicle stabilization, rope skills, the technical skills of rescue squad work. And as you point out, that's what we're missing by not having a truck company operations class. We deal with how to drive the aerial, how to spot the aerial with the aerial apparatus class, but it definitely seems to be there is a void there. One of the things that the recent Company Officer Leadership Academy group had come up with as a suggestion dovetails into this. It was an engine chauffeurs class, a process by which, as like a voluntary choice, that a person who's taken the Class B class could get to this course at the academy, and through 8-10 sessions or something of a structured format at the academy, be able to then test as an engine driver. That would be consistent training. That would be all uniform in approach. It would not be divvied up by 100 different shifts and station variances. And there'd be some consistency, because we clearly know that station level training is high quality, but it's a management time skill. So the academy staff is looking into that engine chauffeurs evaluation to offer it, see what that cost would be to do that. And there's some improvements that would provide us to have a standard engine driver checkoff capability. So I'd like to ask you to touch base with Chief Adam Jones and follow up with the truck operations class and see how that would fit into the training curriculum today, but at the same time see what that would do for promotional requirements and minimum requirements for ascension to Firefighter 3. Definitely a shortcoming that I see after you and I talked into describing it, but something I was not aware of prior to that. So
Will do.
So you talked about safe structural firefighting, or what was the other question?
The safe structural firefighting standard operating procedure. I know that there's some revisions out, and so do most of the folks in the field know that they're revising and updating the safe structural firefighting policy. And a lot of questions have focused around, well, where is flow path going to play a part into that safe structural firefighting policy, and how's that going to affect the folks in the field when it comes to fireground operations?
There's no doubt that we've said it here at the table before. Chief Lohr with the Adam St. John videos had developed a good way of communicating flow path in a way that was observable and repeatable. And that flow path simulator that's available from the academy to come to station near you is a way that everybody can see clearly the influences of flow path. One of the things about fire attack, or what would be referred to as resetting the fire or knocking the fire before entry, is there is a level of confusion. Is that a mandatory element? Does that mean you have to do it on every call, every time? And the best answer is situations and variables will always be different. If you have no visible fire evident from the outside of the structure, why are you going to apply water to what may not be the seat of the fire. So that's an answer of probably not. If you got a window evident on the side of the house that's got full involvement of fire, and you're waiting for the nozzleman or the officer to finish his lap, the officer would be wisely suggested to tell his nozzle person, flow into that window while your partner puts his mask on. Get another minute or so of knock on that window, and that puts that fire back a little bit, allows you that time to then enter the front door, work your way through the hallway and into that room. So circumstances dictated, and some of the folks in our industry are articulating that as fast water. And that's one of the things that is incorporated in the policy review for firefighting operations. And one of the things that I've seen from the review process that I really like is taking out the word safe. Safe structural firefighting operations is truly a bad term, because we know that this is a dangerous process. It's a firefighting SOP, yes it is, but let's take the word safe out of it. We're doing risk-benefit all the time, but let's focus on the firefighting procedures. But one of the things that's in there is the fact that we want to collectively, everybody on the fire ground, focus on fast water, getting water onto the fire, mitigating that circumstance, improving the life capabilities and the survivability profile for anybody in the structure. And by doing that is dissipating that heat source. So some of the industry have called that fast water. Fast water can be done from the outside. Fast water can also be done from getting into it quickly, getting inside, applying water into the smoke column in the area where you're searching to cool that environment, and then finding the seat of the fire, which may not be visibly plain and evident. So people need to be sure that, no, you don't have to always hit the fire from the outside. As Chief Jones outlined in his email back in May, the definition of resetting or the definition of knocking the fire down is not set yet. A, it's never going to be set because circumstances of the structure are going to dictate what that means. And the incident commander, be that the engine officer or the chief officer, needs to be clear with his or her direction. You know, engine 703 to Montgomery, I'm going to be resetting the fire with the deck gun from side alpha. We're going to be in a transitional mode after that. Okay, engine 703 to Montgomery as command. We've now reset the fire with the deck gun. We're going into an interior attack. That's clear messaging as to what was going on, as opposed to saying, command to the units, reset the fire. That may be not understood by the other units that were applying a heavy stream device from the outside, and what that implies the safety risk of folks going inside the structure. So Chief Jones outlined that back in May with a pretty good communique about how that term is not defined and needs to be set on each incident, what your expectations are as the engine officer, unit officer, and then the command officer. And I appreciate the opportunity to expand upon that here today through this video so that everybody can get that other chance to look at that as well. So always good to hear what the concerns are so we can hit them out and, you know, take care of that.
And that's the message that we've been giving the officers in the field is your initial on-scene report and your size of is going to dictate what your course of action is, and you need to communicate that clearly so the incoming units know exactly what you're doing.
Yep, no doubt.
Well, that's all I have, but I do understand that you have some recognitions that you want to talk about with the Metro operations and procedures.
Yep, so each month, as soon as we finish up a taping, we have ideas or people that we recognize should be recognized for good work done. We talked about the things about truck company operations and forcible entry, and I want to say a good thanks to Chris Hinkle and Evan Stevens at the Academy. I would describe them as the oil that makes the PSTA engine run. Those two guys are just the follow-on of many other people, Ray Enright, Rab, many names over the years of folks that have been the most master firefighter technicians at the Academy that make the Academy run. Without those two or their predecessors, the Academy would fall down, more literally than figuratively. But the work that they did to develop the Mayday in-service prop is clearly something that needs to be commended. everybody that's going up there is saying, wow, that's a great drill. Wow, a repeatable metal security bar forcible entry prop on the outside that can be reset in minutes to allow us to do saw work. Forcible door training evolutions inside the structure where they've assembled a steel door with wooden props to enable that component. The V-shaped collapse floor structure impinging upon the firefighter, where there's a safety device so that it can't hurt anybody after they lift it, but at the same time it's weighted and it's a realistic challenge for our folks to simulate the rescue of a firefighter. So everybody that's gone through that Mayday in service, if you haven't gone through it yet, when you get up there, recognize that that's the work of Chris, Evan, and all the other adjunct instructors at the Academy, but great work by Chris and Evan every day, as well as the Mayday scenario. Following up with the flow path process, last couple weeks we sent another group of folks to Delaware County's Training Academy to support the NIST burns. This was a follow-on of some testing that was done before, and this time we sent Danny Hudson, Brian Roydus, Mike Johns, and Doug Wallace. The request came from Dan Machkowski to send another CAFS engine company. Let's do some CAFS evolutions, some Class A evolutions, do some training or experiments. Obviously they do experiments. Mm-hmm. And Dan was more than pleased with the capabilities of those four and how they were able to be proficient at what their evolutions were and get some additional experiments done because of the efficiencies that they brought to the game and to that drill. So great work by those four, as with all the others that have helped with it, be it Governor's Island, be it Delaware before, be it Spartansburg before that. Everybody who's been able to help UL and NIST along the line for those training evolutions helps the entire fire service with that. We've been dealing with a bunch of spring storms over the last couple of weeks, a bunch of rain events that are just pretty much monumental. Recently, I got a note from Commander Laura Lanham from the Wheaton District Police Station about appreciation about the work done by Engine 721 and Rescue Squad 42. They had a flooded situation in the basement of the police station. They had some serious water problems. Serious in the context of 10,000 or so gallons of water in the basement of the police station. Police station is a critical infrastructure. Our folks, Captain DeMint, Lieutenant Lawrence, recognized this problem, recognized that, was it unconventional? Sure it was. But was it an ability that we could do? Sure. So Engine 721 drafted about 10,000 gallons of water out of the basement of the police station and allowed the station operations to get back into service quicker because of that. And clearly, as a public safety facility, critical to that part of the county, enhance the protection of the general safety of the community. At the same time, the crews ensured after that event that the engine was in proper working order, properly backflushed it, properly made sure that they didn't have any damage or impact from that operation. But they made sure beforehand that it was clean water. It was not sewage water. This was just storm water runoff that was coming in the building. So as the picture shows, great work by the engine company drafting from the inside of a building, and 10,000 gallons of water later. Huge amount of work. So a few recognitions for this month's video. You said, you mentioned that I wanted to touch base on Metro, right?
Yes, you wanted to talk about the Metro operations.
Yep. So recent weeks, we've heard a lot in the news media about the NTSB hearings from the January 12th LaFont Plaza smoke event. I had the opportunity to participate in that hearing, and the over 200 exhibits of evidence that the NTSB released at their hearing paints a picture of Metro operations. We know that those below-grade events are complex. We clearly know that those below-grade events are challenging, especially when you throw smoke, or even worse, fire, into that tunnel environment, how complex and dangerous that is. As with a single story, 1,000 square foot house fire, safety is our priority. When we get to that below grade situation, safety for the responders is a priority, but also for the train passengers. We know that the passengers are traditionally safer on board the train than they are getting off the train. We have to do that risk-benefit analysis. Is it better for them to stay on board that train, or is it appropriate to get on the catwalk or the roadway and walk, however far that is to the station? Our folks, the folks at the station level, they need to be brushed up on their Metro skills. Each of us probably went back and did a station level drill after the January 12th LaFond event. Is it our WASD that we're talking about? Is it our communications methods? How do we communicate? We test those in-tunnel radio communication systems every 2 weeks. Can you hear me now? Basically like the Verizon commercial.
Right.
But the station level folks need to follow some of that direction that's been previously put out and always know how to set up a radio relay. Always understand that VRS is not your friend. It's not going to work in this environment. 7 Oscar may be your only choice for radios, but radios are not your only choice. I always want to go back and remind folks that the blue light stations or the ETSs, there's a wayside phone there. Every blue light box has a wayside phone, and every wayside phone can do what?
You can do intercom.
Patch you into the conference line. So you could be in the command car, as yourself would be, on the conference line, be talking to your engine officer who's thousands of feet down, but he's talking on a blue light box on the wayside phone and having crystal clear communication. So we need to understand that there's ways to communicate beyond the 800 megahertz radio sitting in our pocket. Clearly the safety practices in Metro are critical. How do we open the car doors? How do we test the third rail? Proper application of the WASD, proper application of wheel chocks to do that. We get faced with a few pedestrian or trespassers, as it's termed in the industry, incidents each year. And those are complex. Extricating somebody from underneath a Metro car is very complex. But simply the number of insulator or brake issues that we're having, specifically in that Bethesda corridor, we're going to be there a lot. We need to be in tune with when we do enter the roadway, what steps are required. When we do enter the roadway, what steps we use to ensure our safety and continue to ensure our safety. And water supply. Metro water supply is very complex. How many vent shafts / standpipe systems are there between Friendship Heights and Bethesda Station? How many engine companies that aren't normally on that box are going to be dispatched to that event? And what should they do? Should they automatically charge the standpipe, or do they wait for instruction from the incident commander? Clearly it's the latter, but we want to be sure that everybody knows and is brushed up on their Metro operations, because second to DC Fire, we have the largest number of below ground stations and the largest amount of track in tunnels in the Metro system. So we definitely have a risk there. So brush up on our Metro stuff and take care of being ready for that event, because here now recently we've been running 1 to 2 Metro calls a day.
Yes.
In the 2nd Battalion area. So
it definitely taxes our resources.
It does. It's a 15 engine assignment at some time, so it's a pretty quick hit on the county resources. What's else on the list?
Well, we've pretty much covered all our topics to talk about our next month's guests.
Okay, well, I really had a great amount of feedback after the session with Sam. I already had Lieutenant Dave Kennedy lined up to join me in August, and he'll be here talking about some of the components of the diversity training and his new role in the organization. But I had no less than 5 other people reply immediately after the email went out for the monthly message saying they're ready to come on deck and sit in your seat. I want to say thank you to all of those folks, from civilians to volunteer personnel and career personnel alike, that all reached out and said, I want to join you, Chief, and take that opportunity. So I'm booked up for the rest of the year. When I'm starting to schedule for a month or 2 out, after we get through December or so, I'll mention it on one of the videos and look forward to having others, step up and join me here at the table and get their topics brought up or the ideas that they have. So I really appreciate everybody's offer to be involved, and hope that the session with Sam and now the session with you have provided a different dialogue and a type of messaging to the department. So thank you again for coming today, Dave.
Thanks for having me.
So as we roll into the dog days of summer for sure, it's hot. As I said last month, be ready. Always be hydrated and be ready for that call. Take care, and until next month.